Welcome to the Omri Casspi podcast. Today, I'm hosting one of the greatest power forwards of all time, a guy that used to bring chills to people playing against him, dominated the league for many, many years, a friend, Amare Stoudemire. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
My man. I got to start with a story. It was 2009. I literally just got drafted. It was the second or third preseason game coming to play with you guys in Phoenix. The night of the game, we all getting excited playing against you and that team at the time. And, you know, first half, you killing us, right? You destroying us, you dunking on people, etc., right? So second half comes down, Coach Westphal takes a timeout. I think you had 30 or whatever in preseason. Coach Westphal says, who's going to stop Amare? Who can, look up to the challenge? And, me as a 21-year-old kid saying, Coach, I got him. Coach, I got him. I'm coming in, first possession down or whatever. I think it was like a swing. I steal the ball, get a dunk on the other hand. Yeah, your coach took a timeout. Game was pretty much done at the time. You got subbed out. I think that gave me a leeway to maybe the team thinking I'm going to be a defender for quite some time, probably 2-3 weeks.
Sure.
But boy, it was fun playing against you, bro.
Oh, thanks, man.
It was really.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I think the best we've seen you play was, I think, the San Antonio series. Or that year coming into the playoff, and that series, I think you averaged 37 that year.
It was crazy,
in the playoff.
For sure, man.
I remember watching it and then playing against the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs are tough. They're tough to play against, and every team talking about going into San Antonio playing that arena. It's like don't wait for fouls.
Right.
They earn that respect in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Pop putting that pressure on the refs always.
Always.
And it's just tough to play there.
Yep, it's tough. San Antonio was known for when they drafted Tim Duncan, and then they also had David Robinson. So at that time, they developed a certain stigma that those guys were the next team to win championships. Yeah. And they won that year, their first year with Tim and with David Robinson both.
Yeah, and I think that, just them playing in that system and team kind of leading the charge and establishing a culture in that situation. So to me, that team was really good. But I mean, it was fun seeing you play that series, and I think that it was pretty much you doing everything at that time.
That was a crazy series, man, because we went into the year thinking that we had a chance to win a championship, but we were a very young team. I think I was 21 years old at the time, and when I was going into that series, I didn't know what I was doing until after the series was over. Even though we lost the series, but the coach came to me and said, Amare, what you did was second to Wilt Chamberlain. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you broke Michael Jordan's record for more points average in the conference finals. It's like, what? It's like, oh man, this is.
You just having fun at that.
I was having fun and just playing the game of basketball, but that propelled my career. Right. From that point on.
Right, and that was just tough to guard. I mean, I think people realize that now, but you had a full package. You could shoot the jump shot, the mid-range, you make free throws, you pick and roll. You was going right. Everybody knew you were going right, and you still went right.
Sure.
You were explosive. You were dunking on people. It was just unstoppable to watch. And that was the time when you and Steve kind of bonded together, and then just became that 1-2 punch.
Yeah. With Steve and I, when we first signed Steve, it didn't take long at all for us to just gel.
How is that? Just his basketball IQ?
It's his IQ, man. It's his IQ, and the way he played the game of basketball allowed us to somewhat facilitate the offensive flow, right? So he would find me in places where I don't even know I was open. The ball would be delivered there. I'm like, sometimes I get surprised with the pass. I'm like, it took me a second to catch and finish because I was surprised that I was so open and the pass is right there, on target every time. It was amazing playing with Steve.
But he was just watching a lot of film at the time, or?
Steve said he didn't watch a lot of film. He said what he did was he played a lot. I asked him, I pulled him aside one time. I said, Steve, man, what do you do to get yourself prepared for the games? You watch a lot of film or you break film down? He's like, no, I don't watch film. I just play.
Interesting.
He said, I play all summer, play 5-on-5, and I train with the soccer teams to stay in shape, but he just plays.
Wow. So I think the fact that you play so many games in the league, that just gives you, repetition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting to say that because, obviously watching Michael and Kobe and these guys, they're freaks watching the game. They study the game night in and night out.
Right.
And the way they break the game down.
Right. That's how Tim Duncan was also. He was a guy who would sit down in the film session. He would actually you know, kick the coaches out. Coaches, this is a players-only film session. And the players would come in, and they would sit down and break the film down. You know, go over the first play, stop, rewind, what happened here, they ask questions, what about the spacing, what we could have did better. I was all Timmy, you know.
I love that.
He was a true leader, man, big time.
It was us. It happened to us with the Warriors. It happened many times during the year that Steve Kerr used to come to the locker room at the halftime. So let's say Lou Williams is killing us. You know, you're going left, pull up, you know, all that. And Steve says, all right, Draymond, Andre, KD, Steph, Clay, what do you guys see? What needs to be done? And then, you know, the guys are just talking about a situation and like, this is what we need to do. I love that. That puts responsibility on the players.
Sure.
You don't see a lot of coaches do that.
No, you really don't. You really don't. And Steve Kerr actually was a guy, and when I was in Phoenix, he was our GM before he retired and then went to broadcasting, then he ended up going to Golden State. But he was our GM in Phoenix. And Steve Kerr pulled me aside all the time. We had a special relationship, Steve and I. And he gave me his San Antonio Spurs championship ring. He's like, hang on to this. Use it as motivation. We sat down and watched film. We talked about Michael Jordan, the Bulls, and what Mike was doing as far as his training preparations. And that helped me also as a young player. Like, man, I'm listening to Steve Kerr, who played with Michael Jordan, who was one of my idols. And he gave me his championship ring to keep his motivation. Like, I have to become a leader now and follow suit on what Steve is saying.
Absolutely. I
mean, amazing.
And you grew up in New York, and you were watching Michael growing up. I mean, MJ was, to us, you know, there's nothing like MJ. I think what this show, you know, the Last Dance that's been live now, I think what excites me about it is that the young generation get to see MJ, to see how good he was. Do you think there's anyone close to that level at today's game?
LeBron James.
Up there with him.
LeBron James is right there.
You say the same sentence, Michael and LeBron.
I put him in the same. I put him in a similar sentence.
Wow.
I put you know, so Michael Jordan with the comma.
Wow.
LeBron and then dot and then maybe a few more dots and then LeBron James.
It's fair. I think
because the reason why I say that, because you know, Mike obviously, you know, he's won 6 championships.
Right.
You know, and he won 3 in a row, which is a dynasty. Retires for 18 months, comes back, and then win 3 in a row. That's simply incredible, remarkable. That's I can't even think of any more verbs to come up with how brilliant that is for someone to do. But LeBron James is a player. He's just an all-around freak of nature, bro.
Freak of nature.
This guy is the fastest guy I've ever seen on the court. He jumps the highest. He's the strongest.
Right.
Like, how is this all built in one body?
Right.
It's unbelievable, man.
270, 280.
LeBron, his thighs is like this. One time I was in practice, and the All-Star, it was a USA basketball, and it was a loose ball. And me as a power forward center, I'm fast for my position. So I'm sprinting full sprint for the ball.
Right.
LeBron comes out of nowhere, zoom, gets the ball, one step, and just elevates and just attacks the rim. And at that point I knew, I was like, you know what? There is a guy here that's a better athlete than I am. His name is LeBron James. It's incredible, man. I'm telling you, it's incredible.
So to you, like, you played against Kobe in his prime. I think 2009, you guys lost to them in you know, when Kobe was dunking on Steve.
Yeah.
Steve
wow,
that was when he hung on the rim.
Yeah.
Pick and roll on the left, split the defense, and just junked. Steve was just late at that
he tried to take a charge, and it was a little late on the charge. Which at the time, we tried to argue the play, hey, it's offensive foul. But meanwhile, we were like, man, that was nasty.
That happened in the game. So to you, LeBron just passed LeBron, let's pass Kobe, maybe rest in peace.
Mean, I can't honestly, to be honest with you, I cannot say LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant. Even though we say LeBron, and I say LeBron because the athletic ability LeBron has. And his passing ability, but from a footwork, fundamental, post-up, skill set, Kobe Bryant is he's like second to Mike.
That's an interesting point. You know, a lot of, you know, my theory is that a lot of, like, you know, when Kobe retired, it just went to Mike and Mike and LeBron. Like, Kobe wasn't even there. But, you know, guys that played against him for 15, 20 years, he was, you know, he was competitive, he was hard, you know, he was playing hard every night, you know, he was tough, he was talented, scorer, you know, his mindset was like MJ in a sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, listen. Kobe had a mindset. Listen, I was with the USA basketball team, and I was a guy who works hard. Right. I get up early before everyone else, and I go to the gym, and I take pride in being the first one there and being the last one to leave. And it was with the Phoenix Suns, okay, cool. That was my deal, right? I was easy. I do that. No one's in the gym. Perfect. I play my music. I enjoy. USA basketball, I go to the gym. We're in Las Vegas. I go to the gym at about 6 in the morning with my trainers, my bodyguard. We all go to the gym, and I look over. Kobe? I look at Kobe. Kobe has a full sweat. He's drenched. He's finishing up his last set. I'm like, Kobe, hold on. What time did you get here? I've been here at 5 o'clock, young fella. 5 in the morning? And then after that, so he finished his weight training. I finished mine. It's like 7:30 now. So I go to the gym early, to the court. There he is again.
There he
Kobe,
is, right there,
working his footwork, going through the progressions, pump fake, all his shots, all his movements, and this is all before practice. So that shows you the dedication Kobe had to the game of basketball, man. It was incredible.
I had a guy with my rookie year. His name was Francisco Garcia. You remember Cisco?
I remember Cisco, yeah.
So when I got to the league, and I would never forget like these small relationships that you create throughout your career. And he said, Omri, I'll teach you how to work out, how to sleep the right way, how to prepare to a game, and things like that. Like you hear these stories about Kobe, and when a guy set the tone like this to the whole, to the national team, to his franchise, he just take the franchise to another level.
100%.
And I think Kobe was, yeah. But I mean, look, now seeing Michael playing and some of the stuff that we was going through and the hang time and the finesse and the stuff that these are just how is it even possible? I was watching a one-on-one play with him and Michael Phoenix the other day. I think I showed you too.
Yeah, I remember you showed me that. Yeah.
And he was just hanging in the air, tongue out,
yeah.
layup, dunking.
Man, Mike was something else, man. Even in my prime, I was an air player, right? I like to fly through the air. I like to dunk on people, but I could not emulate what Michael Jordan was doing. I couldn't hang in the air that long, man. Mike would fly through the air, hang, move it again, and finish all in one elevation jump.
Was he the best defender in that team of the 90? The him, Scotty, Dennis?
You know what? This is why I think that team was like the best team of all time.
Because of that defensive.
Because of those three guys.
Yeah,
those three guys could go down as like the 3 best defenders of all time.
But if you match them up, okay. But if you match them up with Steph, which is not a great defender, but he's solid these days, Clay, Andre, KD, and Draymond. That lineup.
I mean, I look at it like this. Dennis Rodman's a guy who can guard from 1 through 5.
So he could guard KD and what, container?
If you put Scotty on Kevin Durant. Put Scotty on Kevin Durant.
Okay.
You put a bigger guard on Steph. You put Michael on Steph, and you can put Dennis Rodman on Draymond or one of those guys. And I truly believe that the Bulls might even, in a game.
Stop. No. Okay.
No, not a sweep.
Okay.
But I think the Bulls. I think the Bulls.
Stat.
No, listen. Listen. Those guys are incredible. I don't want to take nothing from those guys because the way they play the game is like game changing.
Okay.
But I do think the Bulls will beat them in a 7-game series. I think the Bulls will beat them in 6.
Okay. That's fair. I think that's fair.
And both of those guys also. I mean, the Warriors won 73 games.
Right.
Which is the best regular season record of all time.
Right.
And the Bulls won 72. They won 72-10.
Right.
So.
But they had something to chase, right? So the Warriors, in the end of the year, they remember that game in Memphis. They really tried to win that game, and they had something. They had to beat them.
Sure.
And they had 72. I think they probably could have won more.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's a good one because I think so. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think just them being on the defensive lineup is just tough.
That's tough, man.
But I remember playing against Steph. Even when he got past half court, Steph was live. And the spread of what he did to the game. The question is, I want to ask you is, Mike DAntoni, George Karl and some of these guys, they were early adapters to that fast pace, shooting threes, 7 seconds, 9 seconds offense. In training camp, George Karl ran 7-second offense. We used to get a shot up in 7 seconds, get a good quality shot.
Right.
And now the Warriors really took it and put it on steroids and became that fast pace shooting, and even the Rockets of these days.
Yeah, for sure. The Warriors actually had a team before Steph and them with Steven Jackson,
right, I remember that.
Al Harrington, Jason Richardson, Baron Davis. Those guys were also like us in Phoenix. It was us in Phoenix and those guys in Golden State that were like scoring 120 points almost on every night. But those coaches you mentioned, George Karl, Mike D'Antoni, like those guys were already somewhat evolving into that 7 seconds or less offense. For sure.
Do you miss your time in New York? I think when you moved to New York was when you signed that contract. As like I think the first couple of months that was like we saw a different Amare. We saw the guy that facilitated. Everybody knew their role in the team. It was you, Gallinari. Everybody was really you guys had a good team. You guys were playing the basketball the right way. Everybody knew where they're getting their shots at, and just the flow of the team, the energy of the city got really where it should have been for the Knicks.
Right. No, for sure, man. When I first signed with the Knicks, it was an incredible atmosphere. Because at that time, the Knicks were not in the playoffs for 10 years before that.
Right.
They haven't had an all-star since Patrick Ewing. And so the franchise is like somewhat of where it is now. It wasn't respectable. And so when I signed, I went to New York early. I met with all the players. I trained with them. And we had a great summer, right? We had a great summer, and then we also had a great preseason. We went to Italy for preseason, played against Milano, a few of the teams in preseason. And so that, I went to Paris. We played the games in France, and so that camaraderie of building that was imperative for us. And then that propelled over into the season. When the season started, everyone somewhat knew their role. Mike D'Antoni laid out a perfect game plan for everyone to be successful in their own positioning, and we were rolling.
Right.
The city was on fire, MVP chants, restaurants, you get free food, bars, you get free drinks.
And you're from New York.
And plus, I was raised in New York, so it's like being home, playing for the local team, the Knicks, and we're winning. It was like rock star status, man. It was incredible.
Right. New York can do you like no other. I mean, that's the mecca of basketball.
Yeah,
it's like
for
you
sure.
just get different chills when you go up, when you get to New York and you got to walk, through the little driveway all the way up to the garden.
Yeah.
It's like no other. This is where you got to Judaism?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, when I was more so learning more biblical connotation when I was like in Phoenix, right?
Like with a rabbi or?
Yeah, well, no,
because you grew
friends.
up a Christian.
I grew up Christian. I grew up Christian. My mother, when I was like about 10 years old, she was like, okay, we're going to start keeping the laws of Moses. Your family's from the tribes of Israel. And I was like, all right, cool. It sounds it's all the same to me, right? It seems like it's all the same to me.
Like 7 laws of Moses, you mean? Or
7 laws of Moses, the Old Testament, keeping Shabbat, going to keep Passover. And at the time, we didn't have any Hebrew translation. We just called it Passover, the Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur. And so we started to somewhat learn how to do these things, but not with true understanding on how to do them. And so I was learning throughout my youth. And not until I got in the NBA, I linked up with like some friends who were also learning. And we just learned. We learned history and just trying to connect the dots of what the Torah is saying. But not until I got to New York, when I linked up with a few Jewish buddies of mine and then a couple of rabbis. And I started learning more about Judaism. I started learning more about what that entails. And then I started having more clarity on what I was trying to learn in my previous years. And so once I was getting this clarity, I just was like earning for more. I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want to know more. I want to read more. I want to see more.
Was it you or your wife also was a part of like?
At the time, she was definitely she was starting to learn with me, right? My ex-wife, she was learning with me, and she started keeping kosher. She started keeping Shabbat, and so it was an easy transition from that standpoint. And then when I traveled to Israel, I think it was 2010, when I first came to Israel. That's when like the whole world started to realize, okay, this guy's like on a different path. He's learning more about Judaism. He's trying to discover his Hebraic roots. And that's when the whole journey really became magnified.
So you keep Shabbat and kosher, like you keep Shabbat like by the Jewish halacha, like no phone, no electricity.
Yeah, I
whole 9 yards?
Yeah, for sure, man. I keep Shabbat, halakha. I keep Shabbat, no phone, no electricity, and so I just stay locked into that, for sure, man.
And you study, right? You know,
I study every day, bro. I have a 4 o'clock a.m. lesson.
Really? Wow.
We go over like we're going over. It's review for me, but we're going over the laws of Shabbat with the rest of the class, and then I have like a 2 p.m. afternoon lesson going over kashrut, just learning how to really kosher your kitchen as far as food, utensils, and so forth. And then I have friends that live in Jerusalem, and we learn on we read the Mishnah, we're going over the Gemara.
Really? Wow.
You know,
it's deep.
Yeah,
I love that. I mean, I read Mishnah Gemara sometimes, and that gets you in there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's tough.
It's hard for me because it's better to learn with friends. For me, because my reading in Hebrew is slow at the moment, right? So I read very slowly, and then I have to get the translation on what I'm reading. So it's great to either learn with the rabbi or with friends that can help with that breakdown.
And that was what got you to come play in Israel. You think?
Yeah. I mean, when I came in 2010, that connection got me to play in Israel. I wanted to be here. I wanted to live here. I wanted to be a part of the culture, and so that fuel somewhat led me to come to Israel and then to play here, and I haven't left since.
Interesting. And you think, so where does that put you from a basketball perspective? That just you feel like it's just giving you the just put you in a different maybe atmosphere, maybe just you being more relaxed, more just connected to your roots?
I mean, you know what? For me, man, it's a lot of learning when it comes to Judaism, and when it comes to like character traits and your midos. It helps me also too, like to control my anger, control my thoughts, control my speech, guard my eyes. These lessons that I'm learning along the way is helping me to become a better man. And that's what I'm ultimately all about, is just being able to become like a better individual, and and this is helping me a lot.
I love that it connects you. At least with my family, just really put us together, and especially us being in the U.S. for 10 years, we kind of you miss some of the traditions that you have here. Being in Passover or Yom Kippur. There's situations, if you live in Sacramento, for example, you don't really feel Yom Kippur. It's just a regular day on the outside.
Right.
And then when you start doing it, when you preach it to your kids and you're talking about the history and your wife, and you kind of it brings you together.
Beautiful. It's beautiful, man. Listen. When I was with the Knicks, and I was learning big time, and I felt a little bit embarrassed to talk to my teammates about it because I felt like they wouldn't understand.
I felt embarrassed. It's interesting you saying that. I felt embarrassed when I got to the U.S. that I knew nothing about Judaism. Growing here, knew nothing. I knew Shabbat and I knew the basic, but I didn't know how to read the Bible. I didn't know, some of the significance behind, religion, holidays, etc. Sure. And now I'm like, I felt uncomfortable, by doing that. And I said, you know what? It's just not right. I gotta do better.
Yeah. I mean, it comes with, for me, what I've noticed. It comes with maturity, right? When I was in my 20s, I was young, wanted to party, wanted to hang out, wanted to just be a rock star. And then as I got older, I started maturing more. I started realizing, wait, there's more to life than just parties. Let me disconnect myself from that world and connect myself back with Torah. And when I was with the Knicks, we had Yom Kippur came around. And when Yom Kippur came around, it was always during training camp.
It happened to me my rookie year. I remember that. It happened to me.
It's always during training camp, and my trainers knew where I was holding. They knew, like, all right, Amare is going to fast. He's not drinking water. He's not eating, but it's still training camp. And training camp is the hardest time of the year for us because we got to do a lot of sprints, weight training, more sprints, like overdose of like sprints and cardio. And so my trainer would stand beside me every time and just watch me see if I faint. I remember that, and my teammates were looking at me like, what is this guy doing? You know, but every year, Yom Kippur came around, training camp, I would run my sprints, and the trainers would just be right there watching me so to prevent me from fainting.
That's funny.
It's crazy.
Take me through your mind. You're at the top of the world. You're arguably the best power forward to play the game, especially in your time, right? You played against the best. You made, thank God, a lot of money in your career. You could have just, say, I'm done. What pushes you, what goes through your mind now when you're like, I want to keep going, I want to compete, I want to play?
I love the game. I love the game. I feel like Hashem gave me this body to allow me to take full advantage of being able to play at a high level. Mm-hmm. I feel like it'll be a kind of a disrespect if I just say, you know what, I'm going to stop playing now when I still have a lot left in the tank, And so because of that, because my body still feels great, I feel I have strong health, and I still can play at a high level and compete. And basketball has given me so much, It took me around the world. It brought me here to Israel to live here. It has shown me so much. And I feel like if I still can play and I'm motivated to want to win, then why not keep going? And that's what fuels me to keep going.
So when you wake up in the morning, you don't have these days. I mean, it happens pretty much naturally to a lot of people, but like man, it's hard. Like you're not the same 26-year-old Amare when, you was flying around.
Right. No, I have some days where I'm tired, my body aches a little bit more. I need a recovery day. But the majority of my days are I feel good, I feel motivated, I feel energetic. Mm-hmm. And then my teammates, the camaraderie of being around the teammates, just that energy of just being, mm-hmm. In that environment is also a lot of fun.
Right. You miss that being about the NBA, just to travel, the team, the
yeah,
team
NBA.
Cards.
Listen,
you used to play cards on the plane?
Yeah, I play cards for sure, man. I play bouret. I play poker.
Yeah.
I think the ideal of the NBA is that, for me, I travel to Philadelphia, to Chicago, to Miami, to New York. Beautiful places to travel. LA, but being over here, and now at an older age, I can travel to Madrid, Barcelona, Athens, Greece. I travel, I travel all over the world.
Yeah. When I looked at the schedule before the year, I was like, wow, we can have dinner. We had a trip. It was a Monday night, I think, was Milano, and then Thursday night was Barcelona.
Right.
Wow, that's great.
I mean, that's, for me, as a player, as an adult, I feel like I can now really, become more of a global guy.
Right. And
be able to learn about multiple cultures and get involved in these cultures by traveling and also still playing the game I love.
And that where it got you to drinking wine a lot? You love your drinking your wine?
Oh yeah.
You have a winery, right?
Yeah, well I have a partnership with the winery,
right. Okay.
with Tulip Winery, and I have a 3-bottle collection. All red wine. We're working on some rosé next. But yeah, I traveled the world also then, just meeting with just trying to become a wine connoisseur, mm-hmm. meeting with the sommeliers, and just learning about the different tastes, the flavors, how it's made, the grapes, the harvest, and and so that's all a part of the culture.
Well, I feel like a lot of guys, just sometimes when you get older, it's part of maturity, right? So when you essentially get older a little bit, start to relax more, and you drink your wine, relax, having a good night with your family, and go to sleep, get you going the next day. And so what do you see, post-career? You start thinking about, what do you want to do? You want to be basketball related?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, man. I feel like I've been able to somewhat, have a solid amount of investments that are working good for me. So I don't have a lot of pressure to have to find a job immediately.
What's interesting to me? What did you focus on early on? You like real estate? What was
your
thing?
I got involved.
Because I know you invested in tech and you're doing all these stuff with Forbes.
Yeah. So I did get involved in tech. I got involved in some companies in America, Rumble Boxing, Spiritual Gangsters, a clothing line. Right. Obviously the wines. Film. I produce movies. I produced a Broadway show called The Rock of Ages. It's about the rock stars and their ages. So I got my hands involved in a lot a lot of interesting situations that's beneficial for me at the moment. But when I retire, I'm sure I'm going to get involved in basketball some way, whether it's becoming an agent or whether it's getting involved in the front office. But I'm sure there's going to be something there where I can start to get involved in.
So you see your, post-career, you see yourself going back to the U.S. and coming to visit, or?
No, I'm going to be here. I'll be here. I have a place here in Israel, and I also have a place in America.
Right.
That's the idea. Hopefully everything pans out the way I have planned, but B'ezrat Hashem that it works out that way to where I can have a place here in Israel, have a place in America, and I can travel back and forth. I like what you're doing, man, just being able to enhance Israeli basketball.
I think we would love to have you a part of anything you put your mind to it.
So we'll see.
What do you think our next generation, or Danny? He's obviously a talent that don't grow up often here in Israel, and the eyes of the nation really looking up to him, and hopefully carry the flag in the U.S. and represent our basketball the right way. What do you think of him from your experience?
So far so good, man. I see a young, motivated player who wants to become the best he can possibly be, and that's the idea. At the young age of 18, 19, you want to, if you have your mindset on becoming the best player you can be, and that motivates you to weight train, to work on your conditioning, your basketball skills, and then you have guys like us who've been in the NBA who can now give him like the game. We can school him on certain situations that can help him be prepared for that level. I think the sky's the limit for him.
I wish it was something that I had, growing up, because when I got to the league, I was so surprised about the intensity and the amount of games we played. Right now, looking back, I always, when I played with Danny this year, I always try to, share a little bit about my experiences, about the way I see the game there, and kind of prepare him to what's coming, right? Because the way I see it is the league these are professionals, that perfected their craft. These are serious businessmen. These are serious people. LeBron James, James Harden, Steph, these are businessmen coming and doing their job every night in and night out. And they're under a lot of pressure. I think it's probably the most pressure in sports because you play so many games. You play every other day, and you have this energy coming into a night before a game when you start, getting excited about the game, and you have that excitement before a game. There's pressure.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think if he'll do that and he'll prepare now, I think he has some advantage over the college kids because he played with professionals. He played with Amare Stoudemire here in Israel, or Omri, or Tariq Black, or Quincy, or guys that have been in the league.
Sure.
So early on, I think it'll be good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by watching us and seeing how we work and how we conduct ourselves as businessmen,
right?
And so I think this is going to help him also understand like what it takes. So when he gets there, he won't be as surprised. He may be surprised by the level of, athletes that are there. But as far as like how to conduct yourself and how to handle your business, he should have a nice idea on what it takes. And you're right. Most college guys in America, they're in college, so they're living the college lifestyle and not playing against other pros. Here in Israel, for Danny, he's playing in the EuroLeague and also in Israel, but he's playing against pros.
Right.
These guys, they may not be NBA guys, but these guys are pros. These guys show up to work. These guys are training high level. These guys are focused. And so he get a chance to play against, pros at a young age, which is great for him.
Yeah, I think it would be great for him. Like I remember one game after, I think it was a game against Turkey. He dunked on Italian player. He had 12 points, I think. And I texted him after the game and said, "Danny, stay humble. Great game. Stay humble. Keep your, I think humble is such a beautiful, characteristic of a human being. When you stay humble, everything falls to the right. They say Moses was the most humble person to ever live. And to me, it's beautiful because if you stay humble, you prepare the games the right way. You're never going to get too high after, great games. You'll never get too low. You keep your composure. And I just hope that, he's going to stay the same Danny that we know him now and develop different things in his game and his character, and he's going to be, a great player over there. Yeah,
for sure, man. I think humility is the key, And like you're saying, like Moshe, if you develop those characteristics at a young age, obviously, as you succeed, you're gonna have a slight more of an ego.
Right.
Meaning that, okay, all right, I understand that I'm good, but at the same time, controlling that ego and being able to understand that you're a good player, but yet I have more to accomplish. That keeps you grounded. Okay, I'm not where I want to be yet. You know, and you find goals throughout your career that allows you to stay humble. Like, okay, for example, for me, when I was drafted out of high school, I became the first player in NBA history to win Rookie of the Year from high school. I could have had a crazy ego, hey, I'm the best ever, I'm this, that, and the third, look at me, look at me. I could have been that guy, but I was like, listen, I want to become an all-star. I want to become a champion. I want to become a Hall of Famer. So all those little goals keeps you somewhat humble enough to want to wake up the next morning, work harder. You know, it keeps you on that path.
I love that. I love that. And I think that you can, you know, it's a lesson we all can learn, right? You can relate to anything we do in life, and just not basketball. But I think it's definitely something that I can relate to, and other people, our listener, can relate to. And really appreciate your time, bro.
Oh yeah,
it's
man.
Been, you know,
it's all good.
I remember us looking up to you and having you here, explaining to our youth and talking about basketball, about your life. You know, a guy that got to the levels and the top of the world that you've been in the basketball world. You know, keeps us motivated. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
עד כאן הפודקאסט השבועי שלנו. היום היינו עם אמרה סטודמאייר. היה פשוט חוויה לדבר איתו, ללמוד ממנו על ההיסטוריה שלו, על הניסיון שלו, על דברים שהוא חווה.